One thing we've done the last few episodes, as we've reminded you, is reach out to the alumni in our community. And that would be the folks in our community who, as youngsters, spent time and were members of the Boys and Girls Club. And there's been a great initiative to try and get them back involved in the club. We certainly can use their talent and efforts to make the club a much better place. And we've had some wonderful guests on, but we're really honored to have my next guest. And that's a familiar face here in Salem, a longtime resident and very involved in the community, Steve Gudek from Technical Needs. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you.
Glad you're here.
Glad to be here.
We were reminiscing a little bit earlier, and your involvement in the club goes back to the very earliest days of the old Boys and Girls Club, the original building. Maybe you could speak to that.
Well, being a graduate here of Salem High in the year 1970, there was a movement in the town to build a boys club. And at that time, they came to the school and looked for individuals to plain and simple work as counselors. And I applied. And I was interviewed and hired, I believe the third interview and the third hire or whatever it was at the time. And the club wasn't even built at that time. So I was excited about working at the club. We were able to assist with the construction, do some painting. Actually did a lot of landscaping, which was not good for the back at the time. But, but other than that, we had a great time growing up there, because I stayed there for 2 years as a counselor and have been back many times after that.
Well, you've been a great supporter of the club, you, your family, and friends over the years. You actually were involved in paint, as you mentioned, in painting the old club.
Yep, the only portion of the club that still is standing, I believe, is the gym. Everything else around it was demolished when the new portion of the club was built. And I probably shouldn't say I was up too high on a ladder painting the gym, but after that was noticed, I was back on the lower levels until the professionals painted the top portions of it. But we painted other portions of the building, as well as where the rec room was and all the other rooms that were around around the club at the time.
Many folks know you, of course, but why don't you fill everyone in who doesn't know you as to what you're doing now with Technical Needs?
Well, Technical Needs is a staffing company, temporary employment here in Salem. We initially started our business in 1976 with my dad, who started the company.
Right.
And my brother and I are running it today because Dad's been retired for a number of years. And we hire engineers, designers, assembly people, light industrial, medical, a lot of different folks out there that we've helped through the years and have placed them in permanent positions as well.
The club has obviously been very important to you, Technical Needs. You've, and you're very modest about this, but you've been a great contributor at the club, a fixture at our annual springtime charity auction, which is coming up in just a couple weeks from the date of the
next Saturday
of the taping. What is it about the club that is so important to you that you've supported it over the years? Maybe what's important about the club to the entire community?
As I sat in the audience while you were interviewing the kids that were here, I actually saw myself. There was a couple young boys that could have been Steve. And as you grow up, the town, to me, is very important to me. Is, like I said, I've been here all my life. I tell people that it's been since I was 5, but it's all my life. And you need to, plain and simple, feel for each individual child that is winning awards, that is trying to win awards, and in order to get that accomplished, the support from the local business is more than very important. It's paramount. And we've tried to assist in that area, and that's where we're at.
Over the 7 years of doing the Positive Place, I'm not sure anyone's put more eloquently what you just did in terms of supporting the club. We are trying to reach out to members of the alumni, and there are hundreds of folks out there, and I think you've made a very good case for that. And one thing that we try to point out with each episode of the Positive Place is a lot of these kids don't have a place to go after school or before school. And the club is much more than just a gym where you hang out and shoot baskets, something like the Torch Club. And that's got to be very rewarding for you, a supporter and someone who was there at the club at the beginning to see these young people and the good work they're doing.
It absolutely is. I'm not sure of the numbers of children that go each day.
Hundreds.
Hundreds. That's heartwarming to all. And to have a place to be at a certain time of day when you need to be there is so incredibly important to a child.